Welcome back to Old War Stories with Uncle Jay. This one is entitled, Your Job is More Important Than Your Health. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, back at Tiny Middle, that curmudgeonly old bastard Pat, my manager, this is going back to when Windows 10 just came out. I didn't bother to look it up. It was a number of years ago. 6, 7, something like that. I don't know. We were still selling computers with Windows 7 because that was still around and still a thing. And also with Windows 8 because that was around. It was just the tail end of 7 and 10 came on the scene, and we were offering free installation of Windows 10 for computers that had eligible upgradability. Hard to explain. In the industry, a lot of the major manufacturers, HP, Dell, etc., banded together and said, all right, we got all these things produced already, and they have 7 on them, they have 8, they have 8.1. 10 is around the corner, but this is the OS it came with. So they're going to be really upset if in 3 months Windows 10 comes out and they can't get it. This is kind of an interesting thing because back in the day when I was in sales, there people would come. I remember when the shift from a lot of people in the home world kind of bypassed Windows 2000 because that was more of a business type system. There was NT, but 2000 was kind of more business oriented. But XP was largely based off the kernel in 2000. 98, Windows 98 was way different. And when the shift to Windows XP came around, a lot of people upgraded their system, and they used to come to me in sales and say, I need a new printer. Okay, yeah, I upgraded to XP and it's not compatible. That was a thing. There were certain manufacturers out there, printers and scanners and the like, that decided that they were not going to make drivers for Windows XP. And at the time, Windows XP did not have any built-in drivers for those. Perhaps that was added later on in service packs or through Windows Update or something, but this was the really early stages of that. And it's funny because these people would come in and they'd be all butthurt about having to buy a new printer because it's not compatible with the new operating system. But these were the same people who were ready to give money hand over fist to Microsoft for their new operating system. Anyway, back to the Windows 10 thing. For whatever reason at this point in time, and I can't give you an exact pinpoint, I was either going away for the weekend, or I had other things to do, or I was busy, or I don't remember exactly what the story was, and I had to get my chiropractic appointment in. Now, usually I would go on Fridays. I was always off Friday and Saturday, but this time I was not able to make it on Friday, and I did not want to miss that appointment. So I was able to get a later appointment for 4:45, so like one of his last appointments for the day. And I had scheduled it for that, and I would leave Tiny Middle at 4 o'clock, and I could get there by 4:45 with like a minute or two to spare, because it was quite a ways out with all the traffic and that. So I figured I'll be able to make it. I'll do my best. Maybe I could sneak out a couple of minutes early. No. That day, just coincidence, that day, about 10 minutes before I was leaving for the day, Pat comes and pitchforks 2 brand new laptops in the box and says, put Windows 10 on these and don't leave until it's done. I said, I can't do it. He says, what do you mean you can't do it? I said, I have a chiropractor appointment at 4:45. I need to leave here at 4 because he's out in bumblefuck somewhere, and I need to get there because I'm going away this weekend, and I can't afford to miss that because otherwise I'm going to throw my back out, and then I'm going to call out from work. And he basically told me, fuck you, call your chiropractor and cancel. This has to be done now before you go home. Okay, rule number 1, immediately broken. Immediately broken. You cannot say that or even fucking infer that to an employee. Now, did I pursue this? No, because I know that the worst that would happen is they'd go up to Pat and they go, that would be the worst that would happen. And then I would be on his shit list because he fucked up. You see how fucked up that is? Man, this man would fucking infuriate me. Absolutely fucking infuriate me. I said, it's going to take 10 minutes just to get this shit unboxed and booted up for the first time, which you had to do to start the upgrade to Windows 10. Because you had to unpack it, it had plastic over it, the screen protector, you had to peel off the screen protector, then the power adapter, you had to get that, then plug in the cord to the power adapter, find a fucking outlet. Every fucking outlet in the store was filled, and you did not want to unplug somebody else's machine because that's just not nice. Find a fucking outlet somewhere, plug this shit in, and then wait for it to boot up for the first time to like Windows 8, which took fucking forever. The first boot of an OS takes some fucking time. So the best I could have gotten done was to get these unboxed and maybe turned on. And he told me to call and cancel my appointment. I should have gone to the fucking Supreme Court with that. I don't know where all these messages are coming from. I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm waiting for a response on one. I can almost imagine what it's going to be. You don't get on my bad side, believe me. You don't get on my bad side. You'll never see it on YouTube, but you don't want to get on my bad side. Anyways, it's very, by the way, very, very difficult to get on my bad side. Very difficult to do so. But the public, you know. Yeah, he couldn't do that. He couldn't tell me that I had to call and cancel my appointment. Now, if circumstances were a little different and my chiropractor didn't have limited hours as he did, and maybe this was a Wednesday and I could put it off till Thursday and I could call, is there any way, is there an opening tomorrow at this time? I can't make it today. And I would have stayed late for the guy. But I couldn't do that. The circumstances were not such that I could do that. Looking back on that, that is so wrong on so many levels. Okay? Not to bring up sore points, because all you have to say in this world is George Floyd, and suddenly there's riots in your town. But I'm going to bring it up anyway. We used to have slavery in this country. Do I agree with it? No. Was it a bad thing? Certainly was. Do we look back on that and say, yeah, that kind of was not fair, not good, all that? Yeah, I don't think that was really a great idea. So looking back, there's a lot of regret. The regret that I have is that I didn't go to human resources and tell them what he did. So that's the regret I have. But with his micromanaging and shit like that, I used to accuse him of muntzing. That's Muntzing. Earl Madman Muntz was a guy who had a shop in Brooklyn, New York, Manhattan, don't remember. And he made TVs. I guess they were Muntz branded. I don't know. Basically, what he did was he created a TV that was inexpensive, worked as good as another TV, but had one flaw that you wouldn't know. So there was a lot of shady business going on behind the scenes. Muntz was known to walk around his shop with wire cutters. And when somebody would prototype a working TV, he would go with the wire cutters and clip things out of circuit. You don't need a diode there. You don't need a resistor there. You don't need a capacitor there. And he'd clip it out of circuit. And a lot of times, because this was all analog and stuff like that, you could, if this weren't a really, really vital component, you could get away with that to a degree. And Muntz was able to do that. What he created was a TV that generally worked as good as a major name brand, but was a lot cheaper. The shadiness that went on was the shit he clipped out of circuit so he could save on production costs of these things. And what he created was a TV that, as long as you were in Manhattan or in Brooklyn, right on the outskirts of the city, maybe even in Queens, a little further out, because the TV transmitters, which were all analog back in the day, were in Manhattan, as long as you were within close range, you get a perfect picture. If you move out to the sticks where I am, you got nothing. Where a name brand TV might be able to pull something in. And I found out how far out in the sticks I am back when I first moved here in 2006, when I had a TV, forget what brand. It's upstairs somewhere, right? I got to show it one day. Anyway, I had this TV, and I had an old war story about that first night in the new house, I think it was. There'll be a link in the prescription. And how hard it was. Granted, I didn't have a real antenna, but I tried my best, and the best I was able to get was a very snowy picture that was able to come in on like one channel, and that was it. And that was a name brand set. Months is long, long, long gone. But I used to accuse Pat of muntzing, essentially coming around and doing a little something to make your job more difficult. He wouldn't take your screwdriver and run off with it. He did that once. He wouldn't take it and run off with it just as a joke. So you'd have to get up and go to the other bench and get it. Just to be kind of a little bit of a pain in the ass. Now, he legitimately lost my fucking tools. Told that one a long time ago. I don't know. I don't remember what that one was called. But $30 for pliers? Maybe that's what it was called. Let's see if I can find that. Anyways, he would do kind of the same thing, where he'd go around and just pick at what you're doing. I remember one time I had a Sony laptop, and Sony jumped on the Apple bandwagon at one point, and they were making laptops in different colors. But it wasn't the Bondi blue and the tangerine and the lime green and shit like that. This was like kind of a nice blue, and then there was like a pink one for the ladies. And I ended up having to work on the Barbie machine. So you get a lot of jabs from all the guys, and Pat was one of them. And the guys in the shop where we poke fun at each other and shit, it's one thing. But for him being a pain in the ass all the time, for him to do that was something a little bit different. Um, he was just horrible. Horrible all around. He'd always like pick at shit. I remember one other time I was given this old machine, and I got him back because I was given this old machine where Windows 7 was king and had been for a long time. But this machine with Windows Vista came in, and the customer wanted it fixed like, this is my computer, I paid good money for it, it's a good machine. Windows Vista sucked. But that being the case, I had to fix this fucking thing. So it's frustrating because Vista doesn't work the way that you want it to. It works the way it wants to, if it works at all. So you walked by and he kind of just said in passing, that's Windows Vista. I said, great. Now that you have your operating systems down, next week we'll work on shapes and colors. I used to get away with shit like that every now and again. There was one other little tidbit I'll tell, and that'll end this off because I don't really have much more. I may have told this before, but it's a quick little ditty. I was talking to the parts guy, Colin. Interesting name. Cool name, but interesting. And he said something to me like, Pat just gave you all these machines and shit like that and whatever. And I was complaining to Colin about this shit. He's like, I know, man, he does shit to me too and blah, blah, blah. I said, but it's all right because on Thursdays, Pat was off. That was one of his regular days off. So I didn't realize this at the time. But I said something to Colin like, yeah, here I am. I'm here like fucking 15 minutes late already today because of this shit that he pitchforked to me. But that's all right because I'll just leave 15 minutes early on Thursday. And what I didn't know is that Pat had walked up behind me and he said, no, you don't. And I turned, and I swear to God, I don't know how I got away with this. I turned and I looked him dead in the face, and we were like almost fucking nose to nose. And I said to him, Dick. And we both kind of laughed it off because we both couldn't believe what just happened. I couldn't believe I had the, I'll use the Yiddish term, the chutzpah to actually say that. And Pat couldn't believe that I had the chutzpah to say that. That's balls, if you will. The nerve to do that. So he just laughed it off because he was totally in disbelief that somebody would actually do that. But yet I did it and I got away with it. So that was one little good point. Oh, shit. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this episode of Old War Stories with Uncle Jay. I thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate it. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.